Yo, what is up, everybody? It's the Jaginator, Corey Marco, back for just one more episode for KTP Season 8 of the Dodcast. Season 8, week... I just looked at it and already forgot. Week 10 of the Dodcast. We got to recap Railroad 2. We got to predict the first round of the playoffs, so fair warning, I am going to do my best to speed through. And, I mean, you know what speed means for me. It means not that much speed when it comes to this shit. But speed through the recap because there's 8, I believe, best of 3s to predict. Yeah, 8. That's quite a bit of DOD to talk about. So we'll do what we can to get there in a timely manner. First things first, it is a sad day for DOD as... we got to watch the very last frag of the week made by War Within. War Within is done after this. I think he's done with DOD entirely after this season in general. You know, the man has put pretty much more than anyone else into the community in the last, in the KTP era. You know, at first we weren't getting barely any frag of the weeks. It would be occasionally done, like Laura did a few here and there, Red Dog did a few here and there, Caleb did a few here and there. I forget who. Oh, Bullet definitely did a few here and there. War obviously did, and then he took it upon himself to just do them all. And if you're not a movie maker who's ever had to do a frag of the week, it might be hard to really explain just how much work that is, especially to get it out by a deadline. You know, in my case, whenever I've done a frag of the week, well, after like the first few I did, I was just like, fuck it, I'm taking as much time on this as I need to. But War Within never did that. He got them to me every week by Friday, regardless of how unreliable people were in getting him clips and demos each week. So, I mean, it's just been insane how he's managed to do this every single week for the last few seasons, but he is moving on now. I'm sure everybody will miss War Within. And, you know, it sounds like he was very pleased with the way this frag of the week turned out. I was hopeful that we'd get a bunch of submissions for this if word got out there, and it sounds like we did. So let's take a look at this last piece of art from the man. I gotta put headphones on or else I can't hear. Wait. Ha, I remembered in time. Wait, what? The fuck happened there? Did that fix it? Holy shit. What the dickens? Jeez. I don't know what I just did. I don't know why I did that, but we're good. It ain't no thing. What? Video capture device. There we go. Whatever. All right. I knew I had my cast template on instead of my Dodcast template, so I didn't want there to be a bunch of shit covering the movie. Hits the first headshot immediately in the spray transfer to the second. Apps is closed at the hands of Jamie. That's me. Oh, Nicholson trying to get one
That's
more
me too.
and he will. Nice shot from Darren there. Sniper waiting in the corner, and Raven's ready for him. What a shot from Raven. This man is on fire. G. Nice. Now I understand why we're giving quotes, because everyone's giving quotes. Ha 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 ha. Bullet. Matt. Oh, this is where he got that clip. I remember seeing all the sniper rifle kills going off, but I wasn't sure where it was happening. Nice. Oh, thank you, three-sided quarter. Ron, ooh, later. Poor emo frag squad. Oh yeah, Craw definitely had some clips. Oh. Wow. This must have been that, like, 8 kill clip he had. Oh, no way. Is he gonna kill that guy too? Oh, okay. Nice. I guess I kind of spoiled that. It's my bad. One thing, I don't know why. It's gotta be what that is, right? That's what it sounds like, at least. It starts with one thing. Oh, here we go. This King Yo clip was nuts. Starts with one thing. I don't know why. Dun, 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 dun. He's still going. He's still going. Dope. 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 What a clip. And got so far. But in the end, I knew it. Great music choice here. Especially for DOD. Oh, this is me. Yagoon.
One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself of a time when in spite of the way you were mocking me, acting like I was part of your property, remembering all the times you fought with me, I'm surprised it
got so far. I will never stop playing the game I love. We know, Corey. We know. In the end. Jamie was insane in this match. He had like fucking 10 clips in this. The death. Oh man, that's too funny. Cheers to the Death Eaters. Ha ha ha. If you weren't around back in the TPG era, you will have no idea. Well, and Cal. Matter. Negative. Ha 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 ha. That's great. All I know. 2. And a 3rd. Yeah. Unreal. Trying to hold on. Didn't even know. Wasted it all just to watch you go. Oh yeah, we saw this. This game is like crack. Yep, we saw this. We saw this, too. Shades of Kaboom right there. If you don't know what clip I'm talking about, it's because you're not as big of a nerd as I am. Such a nice clip by Miles. Nice. Well, I mean, couldn't have been a more fitting last Frag of the Week, that's for sure. I mean, that might be just pound for pound the best one. You know, that was as strong a finish as you're going to get right there. Thank you, War Within, again. I don't know if I've properly thanked Ryan enough over these last 3 years for all the Frag of the Week movie making and everything else, but, you know, thanks again, and hopefully he's not going to go too far, you know? You may be done with the game, but the game's not done with you yet, Rye. Don't go too far. All right, well. Sounds like an opportunity to do it live. Oh my God, I was dying laughing when I opened this up and just saw this fucking full page of this, and then Paul. Okay. Let's recap. Now, as I said, we need to try to speed through this a little bit, because otherwise this will be a 3-hour episode of this. So, I mean, I think there's actually also more games to recap. I think I already did this one, right? I already did this one. I wasn't gonna originally during the Dodcast last week, and then I was like, fuck it, I'll do this one now. That way, maybe I can save myself time next week. It's too hot for the shit right now. War Within this Frag of the Week's getting me all hot and bothered, guys. Oh, shit. This did not go as planned. There we go. Oof. All right. You know how a good DOD movie just gets you a little too hot? A little too hot. Okay. So, there was obviously multiple makeup games last week because there was a bunch of makeup games to get played before the end of the season. Let's just start with those across all the divisions here. So, first things first, we got shit on by G-Skill on Saints. 215-51. Not much to say about this game. We got dumped on. Plain and simple, it was basically a just steady stream of movie clips across the board for G-Skill. I believe Frank top fragged, so he had 35, and he had 65 there. Jesus. So yeah, first half 125-29. We lost on the G-Skill side. 35 for Frank, 33 for Taylor, 30 for Milo, 28 for Colin, 25 for Chuck, 20 for Andrew, but he lagged out. He probably also had about 30. He had like a crazy 5K. Taylor had like 10 clips in this half. Milo had like 10. Frank had like 10. It was just a fucking endless stream of us getting movie clipped on. On our side, Jared and Jules with 28. I had 27. Brian had 25. Hudson and Ryan both had 15. And then second half, we lost by just a little bit less on the easy half. So... 90-22, we lost by 8 in the frag total. Milo had 31, Frank had 30, 29 for Chuck, 27 for Taylor, 22 for Colin, 18 for Andrew. And then on the Thunder side, 32 for Jules, 29 for Ryan, 26 for Brian, 21 for me and Tox, 20 for Hudson. And yeah, G-Skill, they win both the last two games that they needed to, and they take first place in gold. Man, just imagine if when I think about the clips that they got in that match, I'm like, it just immediately sends me to, man, if we were making a movie of both the LAN and online, like, what the hell would this movie look like? Because some of the clips that they have gotten in these 2 seasons of KTP are just wild. I mean, the one clip Frank got on Saints that got caught on T's cast was just like, what? Hudson even said, like, okay, in MM1 after he killed him in that clip. Next, the makeup match. Clan X versus Price is Right. Clan X won 276-94. We casted this game yesterday. It was actually a lot closer than the score looks, but Clan X really had 3 big moments. Then they also capped in the last second of the first half. That kind of made it a little bit more of a blowout looking game. Price is Right was missing a couple guys here. No Riv, no Soya, no Caleb. Clan X had the A team here. Rafinha, Bitch X, Nitrox, Storm, Matt, Bud. On the Price is Right side, 36 for Leo on the Allied side, 27 for Javi, 25 for Corey, 18 for 9, 17 for Hip, 11 for Pibian. For Clan X, the baby goat Rafinha, 33, 28 for Nitrox, 24 apiece for Storm and Matt, 17 apiece for Bitch X and Bud. Clan X, the things really turned around for them. Nitrox had a really, really big play that got them back onto bridge, and then he also had a really, really big play pushing out of water with a sniper. Got like, I think, 5 or 6 kills in total, and that was what led to their first cap out. And then it was the same thing on Allied side, where they didn't have bridge, and then Nitrox pushed water. He got a 3-kill spray down with the bar, got another 2 at the last flag, and they cap out. They get bridge back and cap out. So, you know, Price is Right was doing a good job of hanging in there. It was just big plays on the Clan X side, bringing things back around. Second half, they won by about 100. Frags were plus 35. 39 for Storm. He couldn't quite get to that 40 mark. The boys were trying to stop him from doing so. 30 for Bud. 27 for both Rafinha and Bitch X. 26 for Matt. 19 for Nitrox. And on the Price is Right side, 31 for Javi. 29 for Leo. 24 for Hip. 17 for Corey, 16 for Tony and Pibian. Clan X ending the season in the 2nd seed. As you can see, a little foreshadowing for this game here. That was really the game breaker. And is that it? I feel like there's one more. Oh, I think it's this one here. So this is Armory. We didn't get to see either of these Uncle Rico's games. This makeup match against the Ninja on Armory, it's very interesting, and this is probably like the first time this has ever happened. So 212 to 211, you might be thinking, wow, that's a really close game, but it's actually even closer than that because the reality is it was 211 to 211. And so it was supposed to go to overtime, and the Ninja, I guess, said no. And so it was decided, like, all right, well, if one team doesn't want to play the overtime, then the other team gets the win, which it makes sense, right? You know, like I think that's the most sensible way to go about it. Can't really punish the team that's willing to play. Overtime is obviously there in the rules, and if one team's not going to be willing to play it, then they just take the loss, which if they weren't willing to play it, I'm sure they were fine with that. But Armory, 159 to 79 in favor of Uncle Rico's Time Machine on their Allied side, plus 28 were the kills. On the Ninja side, 34 for Ant. He's been just outstanding for them since he joined the team. Josh Fallen getting in there, ringing with 31 in his first organized DOD back in action. Of course, he was good. 23 for Raven, 20 for, I believe that's Manuk, but I could be wrong. 19 for Mizgift, 15 for Verb, and then on Uncle Rico's side, 37 for Cadaver on the bar, a vintage bar half for Cadaver right there. 34 for G on the other bar, 34 for Purdy, 28 for Ian, 19 for Kevin, 18 for Kevin, 19 for Nick. And I mean, you can see these last couple of weeks, it looks like they're swapping around even a little bit more here. And ST Kevin is taking the 3rd rifle, and G is back on the heavy. So Uncle Rico's Time Machine trying to figure things out here, getting ready for a playoff run. And then the second half, the Ninja wins by the exact same amount this time, plus 9 in the kills. It ends up a tie, but plus 1 in favor of Uncle Rico's Time Machine for being willing to play overtime. On the Uncle Rico side, 33 for Ian. I wonder what resolution that is. That might be 1920. It might even be bigger than 1920. Unclear. I mean, he is a rifle, so that makes sense. And then, yeah, this is Kevin's screenshot for that. I was going to say the resolutions were different. I'm guessing Ian plays in a big res rifling. 30 for G on the STG, 28 for Head Like a Hole, sniping, 24 for Kevin Purdy, 23 for Cadaver, and 20 for ST Kevin. And on the Ninja side, 39 for, again, I think that's Manuk, 31 for Josh, 27 for Mizgift, 26 for Ant and Raven, and 18 for Verb. that was the makeup match. Uncle Rico got that dub. I'm not sure which of their games got played first. Maybe the reason that they didn't play overtime was because that was the second one, and they had already played basically 2 full matches at that point. I don't know. Also, they have Raven, obviously, and the time for him when they're playing at night like that has got to be so fucking late. So there's a number of ways that it could have led to them not being willing to play overtime. But to segue into the actual matches, also Uncle Rico's Time Machine and a Ninja played each other on Railroad 2. Uncle Rico's Time Machine won by 202 points. We didn't get to see any of these games. These guys have been unable to record the HLTVs, so basically anytime they have been playing, we haven't gotten to cast if it wasn't live, which is unfortunate, or if they played somebody that recorded the HLTV for us. So we did get to see, I think, 2 games of Uncle Rico's Time Machine this season, but that's basically it, which is unfortunate, because especially for them, like, I want to get to watch Ian and Cadaver playing again, and I barely got to see them at all. But so this half here, Allied side for Uncle Rico's 128 to 53 plus 18 were the frags. For the Ninja again, Ant going beast mode, 30 kills on the car, 26 for Raven, 25 for Josh, 22 for Mizgif, 20 for Manuk, and 17 for Verb. And on Uncle Rico's side, 38 for G. Just a ridiculous half for him on the bar. 37 for ST Kevin there. Now that's a hell of a half on the grand for a guy who doesn't even rifle. What the hell? What a game for Kevin. 28 on Cadaver for the other bar. 27 for Purdy. 20 for Ian and 12 for Nick. That was one of those halves where the sniper just got nothing to do. Everyone else was busy pushing up to spawn. We've all seen those halves on Allied side of Railroad 2. If you've sniped long enough, you've had one of those halves where everyone else has like about 30 kills, and then you're just like, where are you? Why is it that every time I see a guy, I'm just dying immediately? Like, what? You guys all get to go up there and have fun, and I'm stuck here. Second half, 146 to 19. Was that actually a more lopsided? Yeah, I think it was actually a more lopsided win on Axis for Uncle Rico's Time Machine here. On the Ninja side, 30 for Raven, 24 for Miz and Ant, 23 for Josh, 15 for Manuk, 14 for Verb. And on Uncle Rico's side, 33 for Ian Gilmore. Great half for him. He's outstanding on this map. 29 for Kevin. 29 for ST Kevin, 27 for Kevin Purdy, 26 for Cadaver, 25 for Nick, 16 for Chi. And Uncle Rico's finishing off the season strong with the 2-game sweep of the Ninja there. We'll take a look at the standings, later. Next up in bronze, Rodeo versus the Wickeds. We did a cast of this game yesterday, so Rodeo win 321 to 48. In this one, CK obviously ended up with like 99 kills. Nick also had, I think, 76. You can see in this half, 196 to 3 in favor of Rodeo, plus 60 are the kills. Jiraiya was great in this game all around. He had 31 there on Axis, as was Barinia, as always, 27 for him. Ryan at 23, Bullet with 16, Leto with 15, 10 for Luco, and then 44 for CK, 42 for E-Man, 31 apiece for Meep and Bestia, 20 for Snipies, and 14 for Bo. I think Bo came in like in the middle of that half, and Grunt left. And then I think Grunt came back. I'm not really sure what happened there, because Grunt was in there, and I didn't even really notice that he had left, and Bojanglers was in there all of a sudden. And then I did notice, and then come the next half, it was like, oh, he's gone. Or he's back again. So it was very confusing for me. Second half, 125 to 45, an 80-point victory for Rodeo. To be honest, the Wickeds actually could have won this half. They had a few really big, really good initials where they just like team wiped, but unfortunately a couple of the times that they did that, they weren't able to end up getting mid. They got everything else, but they just couldn't get mid in time. Otherwise, honestly, like I think they win this half. The kills are obviously really in favor of Rodeo here, but the Wickeds played really well. It was just what happened in between that. CK running around like a maniac. Nick was running around like a maniac, just looking for kills all over the place. The Wickeds had a moment where they almost capped out as well in this half, and CK just was kind of like behind them. They just needed to get the Axis too, and Snipey's ended up in the loft, the Axis loft, and he killed like 4 guys, and CK was in apartments, and he killed a few guys, and it ended up turning all around. Instead of being a cap out, I don't even think they had anyone on the 2, because a bunch of guys died everywhere else. So I think that the last 2 guys alive were actually not on the 2, but the Wickeds, I mean, you don't know that. It's just you start dying to people elsewhere. You know, you got to assume there's guys on the 2 at that point. It's just there wasn't. So, for the Wickeds, 25 for Ryan, 24 for Bill and Barinia, 23 for Lucco, 21 for Jiraiya, and 17 for Leto. And on the rodeo, 55 for CK means CK's just not that good. He couldn't break 100. He promised everyone he was going to break 100. He didn't. He only got 99. So, I think CK needs to spend a little more time practicing this week for the playoffs than he does doing anything else, like taking care of babies. Who does that? 36 for E-Man. I believe this is Nick's last... 78 kills for Nick. I think this is his last game of the season. So he finished off strong, for sure there. Almost breaking 80 at a 40 kill half. 30 for Snipeys, 25 for Bestia, 18 for Meep, 17 for Grunt. Rodeo get the dub to finish out the year, and they locked up the 2 seed. And last up in the bronze division, No-Go, 200 to 58 for Rifle Nades. A very convincing win for No-Go against some of their strongest competition in bronze. I mean, it's not, I don't think, even really up for debate. No-Go is obviously the favorite in bronze. They have 1 loss this season. It was pretty fluky. It was really just a one-man show of CK killing 5 guys and capping out. That's the difference between them being undefeated and the 1-loss record they do have. And that's the beauty of DoD. Sometimes one guy can just go off and win a game. Generally, that's not the way it works, but occasionally it does. But No-Go, I mean, this game, the fact that they win by that much against Rifle Nades is crazy. No-Go is just absolutely stacked to the tits. The story of this game was Koi. He was the MVP. Going train car, he ended up with 69 kills. What a beast. 93 to 13 on their allied side, plus 27 were the kills. 28 for Firo, 26 for Chrono, 23 for Arachnid, 21 for Pipes and Azilla, 20 for Steve. And then on the other side, 38 for Koi, 33 for 3-sided quarter, just getting movie clips left and right. Same for Jamie, who had 26, 23 apiece for all the other 3, the Sh and the S brothers, Bausch, Kush, and Spoon. And then on the Axis side, even more impressive here was Jamie dropping 34 this half, and he was just like running. You saw the one clip in the frag of the week, but that was just the tip of the iceberg with him in this one. Axis side for No-Go, they win 107 to 45, 32 apiece for Azilla and Chrono. Good strong finish for them. 26 for Pipes, 25 for Arachnid, 23 for both Steve and Firo. And then for No-Go, 36 for Cushy in his, I believe, last game of the season, which is maybe the one saving grace for the rest of the bronze division, that No-Go will be a little bit weaker for the rest of this. But man, I don't know. It's that's still, the team is stacked. You know, Kush is maybe the most important fragger on the team, but they got other guys, you know. Blue Revolver ain't in this game. Deedro ain't in this game. Matthew ain't in this game. You know, they got other guys, so don't you worry about No-Go. Cushy with 36, 34 for Jamie, 31 for Koi, 25 for Bausch, 22 for Greg, and 21 for Ryan. No-Go finishing the season in the 1 seed with 1 loss only. Moving on to silver, I believe there was 2 games I didn't get to cast. So this is one of them first off. Clinic versus GVMH. Clinic win 248 to 53. A surprising blowout there. I mean, I know the GVMH guys aren't huge fans of Railroad 2, and Clinic is. They're really good at Railroad 2. I figured Clinic would win this game, but I really didn't think it would be by that much. I didn't get to see the game, so I have no idea what actually happened. But in the first half, second half, I guess that is. So let's go back to the other half. First half, 111 to 51, plus 60 for Clinic on their Axis side, plus 4 in the kills. 34 for both Hooley and No Name, 27 for Pijisku, 20 for Knack, 18 for Raleigh, 15 for Sango. And on the other side, Debo with 31 kills on the car, 28 for Hopper, who was ringing there, it looks like. I didn't have that on my bingo card. I was like, yeah, Clinic's got like 10 guys who could be playing, and I definitely didn't think there would be a ringer. Hopper is the ringer of the season here. He's rang like every week, it seems like. 26 for Sam going train, 25 and 17 for Tom sniping, 21 apiece for Insom and Allen. And then the second half, they win by 135, plus 34 were the kills. 36 again here for No Name, of course. He finishes the season as your number one player in the division. No surprise there if you've watched a single game this season. Just the eye test can tell you that No Name was the best player in the league this season. You know, it's just the shit that you see him doing in these games. Like, just there was times where he basically single-handedly was winning games, even though they have multiple other really good players. There was a couple moments this season. The one I mainly, and they ended up losing this game. But the thing with GVMH is they could easily, like, this is the one convincing loss that they had all season. This one. Every other loss that they had was like single-digit loss that you could argue they did enough to win in. They have the game against Best Buds in week 1 where they had 2 lag-outs in the last couple minutes of the game, and they end up losing by a cap-out in the last like 30 seconds. So obviously, they could have easily won that. Saints, they barely lose to Volvo. Solitude, they basically were about to win. If they had 1 extra second on the clock, they would have won. Then there's this one, and what's the other game that I'm not thinking of right now? I'm forgetting one. Where are they? There they are. And the Armory game, 10 points. So they were about to cap out to win this game in the last like 5 seconds as well. I think if you played out that last 30 seconds of this game 100 times, GVMH would probably end up winning it like 70 of those times. Very easily could have been a one loss. Yeah, so this one, it wasn't single digits, but they were about to cap out right at the end of the game and just ran out of time with the guys on the cap zone. And they lose by exactly 39 points, 1 less point than a cap. So, point being, we very easily could have seen GVMH the best team in Silver this season. Just, they had bad luck. But point being, No Name ends up the best player in the division, and I think that was, deserved. He definitely did more than enough to warrant that. Raleigh and Hooley were not far behind him. In this game, they both ended up with 23, but overall, they were not far behind him in the stats. We'll look at him a little bit. Knack and Pijisku with 21, Sango with 16, and on the Clinic side, 37 for Tommy Fitz, 31 for both Hopper and Allen, 27 for Debo, 26 for Insom, and 22 for Sam. The Clinic curse was broken. All I had to do was pick against them and not watch them play. So keep that in the back of your mind for later. What's next up? It was, I think, Price is Right versus Emo Frag Squad. Did I pass that game? Yes, there it is. 220-64 in favor of Price is Right. We didn't get to see this game either. So first half Allied side for Price is Right, 139-50, plus 53 were the kills here. For Emo Frag Squad, it looks like J-Rod DC'd because he's only 2-7. There's no way that was his total score. 25 for both Matt and Ian, 24 for Steve, 23 for Apple, 13 for Saf, and on Price is Right, 38 for Leo. He, I think, ended up the number 2 player in Silver, which also, again, tracks if you've watched this season. 32 for Kellen and for Tony, 26 for Corey Price, 21 for Pibian, 16 for Hip. And then in the second half, 103-14 for Price is Right, 27 for Matt, 26 for Ian, 25 for J-Rod, 24 for Apple, 23 for both Steve and Sapphire. And on Price's Right side, 38 for Kellen. New dad, Kellen. If anyone didn't already know that, congratulations to Riv. I know he wasn't too hyped about playing in this game because he was dead tired, obviously, with the newborn, but he had a really good game. He might have top fragged there, even. 30 for Leo as well, 29 for Corey, 26 for Hip, 20 for Tony, 12 for Pibian. And yeah, Price is Right, finishing out the season strong there. Emo Frag Squad. So the way the playoffs were going, it was going to be extra complicated if Emo Frag Squad was included. I don't know. So I heard that there was going to be potentially a vote to have them in bronze, and I don't know if they actually did it or if they decided against even posing that question or what. But in the end, they were given the choice to either be in the silver playoffs, or if they wanted to back out and not even play, it would make everything easier scheduling wise, and they just said that's fine, don't even worry about it. So props to Emo Frag Squad for being willing to do that. I don't know that there's a lot of teams that would, just to make everything easier for the admins and the league. It was a tough one for Emo Frag Squad for sure this season. Hopefully they will all be back next season in one form or another. It's just, they had a rough go of it there in silver. One win overall against Volvo, who ends up the 6th seed. That win aged really, really well. It just seemed like with Emo Frag Squad not playing as much as they would have liked to in between matches, they weren't quite able to continue to progress after that point. Obviously, have a lot of talent on that team. It's just 3 of the guys really, well, and Sapphire. Sapphire's one of the guys, but just one of those things where with having not played that much in the KTP era and then kind of stepping in, it's not easy in any division to do that. Everybody stays pretty active in DoD nowadays, so it's a lot harder than it maybe once was to just kind of step in with 6 people who aren't really playing all that often and go out there and win matches, A lot easier said than done, that is for sure. What was next? Oh, yes, Volvo versus Clan X. So this was a pretty big upset here. When you look at the standings, Clan X at this point was in the 1st seed, and Volvo was second to last. And Volvo win this game 127-114. They swung with the weight on the bat right before this game. They scrimmed against us. And I kept telling them, hey, I know you guys aren't having fun right now, but this will actually pay off when you go into the game. Now, Clan X was missing some guys, for sure. You got to mention that fact. You can see Kuba played his first game in KTP. They didn't have Bitch X, they didn't have Storm, and they didn't have Rafinha. But still a very impressive win for Volvo here. Axis side first half. For Clan X, they win their allied side there by 44, plus 55 are the kills. For Volvo, Manor 24, Kingyo 23, Yanni 21, 18 for Scotty and Toki, 12 for Sean Luke. And on Clan X's side, 47 and 19 for Nitrox. What a fucking game for the man. 32 and 14 for Bud, 28 for Manga, 22 for Lobaton and Cuba, 20 for Matt. Second half, though, 97-40 in favor of Volvo. They just do enough to win, plus 9 in the kills. You had 29 more for Bud there, 26 for Nitrox. Just great game overall for him. That's 68 kills. Bud was 61. And then 23 for both Matt and Lobaton, 21 for Kuba, 18 for Manga ringing there. Did I say? I feel like I didn't say Manga in the first half. He had 28. I didn't say Manga there. And on the Volvo side, though, 43. King Yo was just out of his mind in this game. You saw that insane clip in the Frag of the Week. That clip was nuts. He was just all over the place, getting 3+ kills at a time everywhere. Just a hard carry game for King Yo. 27 for Manor on one bar, 25 for Yanni on the other, 19 for Scotty, 18 for Sean, 17 for Toki. Huge win for Volvo. This helped jump them up in the standings to that 6th spot from the 8th spot. So very, very impressive stuff for them. And was there one more game? Am I tripping? Yes, there was. There was at least one more game. Was there 2 more games? No, there was only one more game. Band of Morons versus Best Buds. This was actually because Clan X had lost. This game would dictate the number 1 seed. The winner would get the 1 seed. The loser would drop down to either the 3 or the 4. And as you can see there, Band of Morons do enough to win 151-93 there. So first half, allied side for Band of Morons, 108-2, plus 53 are the kills. 26 for Piffy, 25 for Hopper, 17 for Warren Bobby, 13 for Nicholson Eats Ass and the Brom Bomb. On Band of Morons, 37 and 18 for Crawd. He was a madman in this half, as was James with 35. 27 and 11 for Darren, 24 for Miles and Train, 23 for Barron, and 18 for Cody. Cody had some nice runs. So really everybody in this game had a big moment. This was a very fun game to cast. Second half, Best Buds do win this half. They definitely looked like they were going to end up coming back and winning this thing, but Band of Morons was able to put a clamp down on them in due course and prevent the comeback from going off entirely. They did outfrag them by 9 in this half. On the Best Buds side, Bobo with 32, Hopper with 30, 23 for Piffy, 20 for Nicholson Eats Ass and the Brom Bomb, 15 for War, and for Band of Morons, 33 for James. He was your MVP there. Darren, 29 and 19. He ends up with the top KD. He actually won that. I thought it was going to come down to him and Hooley, but it was actually No Name that ended up with the second highest KD. I think it was like 1.81 for Darren, 1.56 or something for No Name. So Darren winning the KD battle convincingly in silver there. 27 for Drew, 28 for Barron, 27 for Drew, 20 for Insight, 12 for Cody. Band of Morons clinched the 1 seed. I'll open up the Google Docs after I do gold too, I guess. We already did the Icy versus Soul game. Thunder versus Over. So Thunder takes the cake here, 185 to 46. First half, Axis side, we won 86 to 36, plus 7 were the kills. It was pretty close. You saw the clip that I had, the 5K coming out of Train. That was our cap out that really won us the half. I guess we technically would have won by a few points, but definitely not by 50. For Over, Devin was great, 30 and 26. James ringing on the sniper, 27 and 21. Chi with 22, 19 for SC and Caffrey, 12 for Kum. And on the Thunder side, you had 28 for Dorito, 26 for Tox, 23 for Jules, 21 for Nazda, 20 for Yagoon, and 18 for Omenair in Train. Excuse me. And then on the Allied side, 99 to 10 plus 89 plus 28 were the kills in our favor. 29 for Chi led the way for Over. 26 for James. He just had a good game all around sniping. 22 for SC. 18 for Caffrey and Devin. 14 for Kum. And on our side, 36 for Brian. Of course, it's Dorito. He's a robot. 28 for Omenair. 28 for Toxinator. 23 for Jules. 22 for me. 18 for Hudson. Thunder. Technically, that wasn't the finish of the season. We won that game, which put us in position to go play against G-Skill and play for the 1 seed, but we already saw how that went. G-Skill clinches it. They had won the game against Dice right before that. If they had lost that game, then it wouldn't have mattered what happened. Win or lose, we would have been the 1 seed, but they did not. They win against Dice 269 to 68, a 201-point victory there. Allied side for G-Skill, they win by 103 plus 37 are the kills. The story of this game was Andraj Gall, 44 kills on Allies, just a maniac getting Garand kills all over the place. Again, when I was watching these games and then played against them, it was like, man, imagine if we had these fucking online clips to add to this movie too. It would blow any other team movie you've ever seen out of the fucking water. I assume most of these guys will have their own movies coming out in one form or another anyways. I know Milo definitely will have some form of a movie coming out eventually. He has demos from like 15 years. Speaking of the devil, 30 kills for Milo there, 28 for Frank, 27 for Taylor, 24 for Chuck, and 23 for Colin. On the Dice side, 30 for Matt, including that frag of the week clip, 29 for Paulie Kuhn, 23 for Alex and Kevin, 20 for Chris, and 14 for Johnny. And then the second half, 122 to 24, a 98-point win there. Plus 24 were the kills. On the Dice side, 31 for Matt, 30 for Alex, 27 for both Johnny and Paul, 24 for Chris, 22 for Kevin, and for G-Skill, Frank with 44 kills on the car. He was just, what are you going to do against them when they have the guys that they have playing like that? There's nothing you can do. Trust me, I tried right after this game. 44 for Frank and 38 for Andrew. That's 82 kills between the two cars. What are you going to do? 28 for Taylor as well, 26 for Chuck, 25 for Milo, and 24 for Colin. G-Skill secure that 1 seed when all is said and done. We had the circle of fuckery going on at the top of gold where G-Skill beat Thunder twice. Thunder beat Icy Hat twice. Icy Hat beat G-Skill twice. G-Skill beat Thunder twice. Thunder beat Icy Hat twice. Like it just round and around we went. But Dice was able to beat Icy Hot one of those other games as well, which dropped Dice into the 3 seed. So it wasn't a 3-way tie of fuckery, which would have been crazy to see what happened in that. Would have been very interesting. I don't know off the top of my head how that would have all gone down, but just to take a look and reiterate in the standings, you can see here, top 2 seeds have a bye in gold. Icy plays over. Dice plays Soul. In the silver division, everybody plays everybody. Emo is not playing at all. Band of Morons versus GVMH. GVMH won the season series there with the win on Harrington. Clan X versus Revived. I believe Revived. No, they didn't win that game. Because Clan X lost to Band of Morons and... Wait, did they? Did Revived win that game? No, they didn't. Okay. For a second, I was like, what? No. They beat GVMH and Clinic were the 2 big wins they had back-to-back. Volvo versus Price is Right. That's a fun one right there as well. And then Best Buds versus Clinic. And in the bronze division, buys for the top 2. Uncle Rico's Time Machine and Ninja play for the 3rd straight game. Rifle Nades versus the Wickeds. The way it works is the top seed gets the winner of these middle games always, right? And then the winner of this game plays against this seed. Same thing in gold. And then here would be 1 versus 8 winner plays against, I think, is it 3 versus 6, I want to say? I can just pull up the goddamn bracket and tell you. Let's stop speculating. Excuse me, I clicked you, sir. Thank you. No, they play the 4-5. Okay, and yeah, that makes more sense. Duh. What an idiot I am. Shut up, Corey, you stupid-ass bitch. And then let's pop the stats up right quick. How are we doing on time? Oh, boy. So just to... I'm not going to get too in-depth here. CK, 142 KD, the average score of 41 and 29. Cushy right behind him. Spoon right. So look at Nogo. Nogo has 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top, 1, 2, 3, in the top 6. 4 in the top 6. And then there's Quarter, 5 in the top 10. And there's Jamie, 6 in the top 14. 6 players in the top 14 for No-Go. That kind of tells you everything right there. Rifle Nades have 3 guys up here in the top 10 as well. Azilla, Chrono, and Arachnid. Great seasons for all of them. Ian Gilmore in the top 10 in his first season back. And then, the rest of it, Ant, ends up getting enough games to qualify there, and deservedly so, ends up here in the top 11. Nick right behind him, ST Kevin. I'm not just going to sit here and read the whole thing. You can go look at it yourselves. In silver, as I said, No Name at the top, 156. Hooli actually ended up right behind him. 34 and 21 was the average score for No Name. 32 and 23 for Hooli. 32 and 24 for Leo. Till next up at number 4. J-Rod at number 5. Raleigh right there. So 3 in the top 6 for GVMH, which I don't think you'd be surprised to hear that if you've watched their games. Matt is there at 8. Nitrox at 7. Kellen at 9. Drew at 10. Tom, Darren, there's that leading KD there, 1.81. Hopper, SQ, Piffy, the Brom Bomb, Pibian, Ian, Baron, and Vic round out the top 20. And yeah, like I said, you can go through and read the rest of it. And in gold, Nightmare at the top, of course, he always is. Sean, Milo, Jules, Alex, Jesse, Tox, Ben, Andrew, Frankie, Brian, William, Paul, Chuck, Ryan, Kevin, Devin, Justin, SC, Saka. I really wanted to end up with the top 3rd rifle rating for this season. That was my goal. Saka beat me out for it, unfortunately. I just realized that my KD was better, but kills per match was not. He played 6 games. I played all 9, so there's that. But yeah, I did not reach my goal here. I figured I did not expect Saka to be a 3rd right. I figured it would be like me and Colin and I guess whoever on Icy Out ends up 3rding and whoever on Dice ends up 3rding. those kind of guys. But Saka ends up thirding in the end, and he gets the top spot there. And yeah, you can go through and look at everything else. It's all there. Check it out. Take a look at it. Talk about it. You know the drill. Best 6 for each category and class. Do. Yeah, goon. Okay, yeah, okay. All right, now comes the hard part. This is, this is gonna be a lot, boys. So, 8 matches, all best of 3s. As I was talking about yesterday when I was streaming, we also have, I don't know, about 20 games left to cast from the LAN. So, World Series of DoD casts. Here's the thing. Odds are we're not going to realistically pick those up until the season is done. There's a chance, like if for some reason a bunch of teams don't record their HLTVs, so I don't have a lot of delayed casts to do, that extra time can be used to do the LAN cast, but otherwise, odds are the majority of that will come when the season ends. Everyone's going to have a lot of free time around Christmas, so believe me, you will see a lot of my face casting the LAN at that point, but right now, I mean, there's so much fucking KTP to cast, so many best of 3s. We got another set of vetoes in here. So, let's start it off in the bronze division. If any games don't have their vetoes here, I can't even just begin to speculate. I don't know if there's any missing or not. I haven't gone through and cross-referenced everything. There's definitely, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is one set of vetoes missing. Which one is it? It's Soul versus fuck me. No, it's right there. Soul versus Dice is right there. Clinic Best Buds, Band of Morons, GVMH. Price is Right game is there. Clan X. Clan X versus Revived we don't have. Son of a bitch. God damn it. It's Friday, guys. You're killing me. All right, let's start off with Uncle Rico's Time Machine versus the Ninja. So, you can see here the pick, the ban, the situation. Uncle Rico's Time Machine bans out Armory. They just played each other on it. It was a tie game, so I'm sure they would like to get that out of the way. The Ninja bans Railroad 2. They just played that, and Uncle Rico's Time Machine beat him by a lot. Harrington pick, that makes sense. Out of Uncle Rico's Time Machine, they look good on it. Saints pick for the Ninja. That also kind of makes sense. They look pretty good on that. A ban of Anzio for the Ninja is an interesting one, but I think getting the extra experience out of the equation there on the Uncle Rico's Time Machine side. Rico's bans Thunder in the end. Lennon is your decider. So, taking a look at the teams, we know what Uncle Rico's Time Machine's bringing to the table. Nick, Kevin, G, Cadaver, Ian, and ST Kevin. For the Ninja, it's very unclear. Raven will definitely play, I would assume. Ant's been playing. Miz, Manuk, these guys have generally all been playing. Illusion, if he's there, I'm sure will play. We saw Brett get into some games. Miller, I don't know. Woody and Verb both seem to be pretty available as well. So, I mean, I think the Ninja is, first of all, way better than their record reflects with the way that their lineup plays out now. This winless season is incredibly deceiving, in my opinion. They obviously almost beat them on Armory. It was this past week, but it was technically from week 4 or whatever there. The guys coming in for the Ninja in these last few weeks have helped a lot. They had a pretty close game against Nogo when you consider the placements of the two teams. They basically beat Rodeo. They played Rodeo 5-on-6 for an entire half and lost by less than a cap. So, if they had 6, they win that game. I can say that fairly confidently. Uncle Rico's Time Machine, very strong team here to open up what they've got going on. They lost to Rifle Nades by 3. On Anzio. They lost to No-Go by quite a bit on Thunder, and they lost to Rodeo on Harrington. I I think CK had like 100 kills in that game or something. Those are the 3 losses for him. But, you know, I mean, Uncle Rico's Time Machine are a bunch of guys who have been here before. Ian and Kevin at Purdy played in a WSVG final. This is not going to stress them out at all. They will keep their composure. I think that Ninja absolutely is capable of taking a map here. Saints, I would say, is the one most likely to work out in their favor. If they have their best 6, they could steal this series, to be honest with you. They, with their best 6 players, are quite formidable. They stay, like, the guys on Ninja all play DoD during the week. You know, maybe not a lot, but generally when I get into a 12-man, like, I see at least 1 or 2 of them there. So that's helpful. You know, you got to go with Uncle Rico's Time Machine overall, but I mean, they need to win on Harrington, I think, because if it goes 1-0 to Ninja and it goes to Saints, like, the momentum is going to swing so much in favor of those guys, and they're all really strong mechanical players. They have a lot less experience. So obviously, Uncle Rico's Time Machine can weather the storm in a situation like that pretty easily, but you don't want to let that ball get rolling downhill on you with how good the players are on Ninja. I think Uncle Rico's Time Machine should win on Harrington. They have the guys who know how to win on Harrington. Very strong players when it comes to control of mid and how to wrangle on Axis side that control into as many ticks as humanly possible, how to defend against full caps on that half. So I'm going with Uncle Rico's Time Machine here, but I'm gonna say it's like, you know, 67%, 2/3. I'm not saying that means they're gonna win 2-1. I think they could definitely sweep this thing. If it went to Lennon, I don't even know what I think happens at that point. That's a real wild card matchup here. It's the kind of map that definitely the guys on the Ninja can make work for them. You know, the heavies are super important, obviously, in that case. Again, a lot of what's going to happen is going to depend on who's playing for the Ninja, to be honest with you. What 6 do they have? It's almost impossible for me to really say accurately what's going to happen in this game without having any idea what 6 show up for the Ninja. Are they going to have ringers and stuff? You know, like, there's so many variables here that I just can't account for. But yeah, I think Uncle Rico's Time Machine should be able to secure this overall. I'm just not like 100% sure about it. There's many scenarios where the Ninja could take this thing quite easily. It's not that much of a stretch. Like, if they won, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, you know, it'd be like, oh man, like, who did what there? Like, we just saw what they did against Rodeo, where they had 2 guys drop a combined 100 kills, right? Ant and Illusion. They could do that. If they have that and 6 players actually playing, that's going to be enough to beat most teams. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, if I don't get to cast this live, I at least get a demo for it. I think there is another 9 o'clock game, the Dice Soul, 8:30. So yeah, I'll probably be doing Dice Soul at that point. And I'll have to try to talk to the Uncle Rico's Time Machine or the Ninja guys to record. Basically, how much work I have to do in the coming weeks is going to be dependent on everybody recording or not recording their HLTVs. Because I can only do one best of 3 at a time, obviously. The crossover on that is going to be a lot more frequent than when it's just one map at a time. So it's like there's going to be an afternoon game and there's going to be a night game, probably. There's not much chance of there being like 2 nighttime games when it's best of 3s. You never know. If there was a game at 8 o'clock and it only went 2 maps and there was a game at 10 o'clock, absolutely, that I could do too. Or if there was a game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it only went 2 maps, and then a game at 5, boom, done deal, no problem. Next up in bronze, the Wickeds versus Rifle Nades. So the pick band goes as follows. Rifle Nades gets rid of Armory. I think that makes sense. I think they probably just don't care to play Armory. Source players, they're not going to be super familiar with the map. Of course, Arachnid and Azilla, definitely familiar with it, but everyone else going to be less familiar. Anzio banned out by the Wickeds. That makes sense. Rifle Nades looked really, really good on Anzio earlier this season. A Lennon pick here for Rifle Nades. That also makes sense. Chrono, Azilla, you want to give them a chance to have as much space as possible. A Thunder pick by the Wickeds also makes sense. That's the kind of map you want to pick in this situation, you know? You want to try to think your way to a win against a team like this who's just going to be so strong. With a guy like Bullet on your team, he's going to be able to find ways to get you a dub on a map like that. That is definitely a good pick. They ban out Harrington. Again, a chaotic wild card of a map. You don't want that in play. And then Rifle Nades ban Railroad 2 to go with Saints. That's an interesting one. Saints has had some wild maps. There were definitely, I'm not even a huge fan of Saints, but I think it is one of the most fun maps for like playoff games that we've seen. The third map of Season 5 finals between Bandits and Thunder might be like the single most intense finals map that we've had in KTP. Off the top of my head, that game was absolutely bonkers. It's like the main reason why every time there's a really close game now, I'm really glad I'm not playing in this one right now, because the intensity in that game was just all the more fucking insane. There have been a lot of good games, obviously, throughout these 3 years, but that one is one that stands out, especially when it comes to like a finals match. And that was on Saints. And at the time, everybody kind of laughed about it and was like, oh, that's so dumb, that's so bad, Saints is so bad, but it ended up being insane. And since then, we had an overtime game on Saints. We've had multiple almost overtime games on Saints. It's a map in that regard that it's kind of like Thunder, where, there's a big centralized double cap and that control ends up reigning supreme. Only there's more cap out potential on Saints and more like explosive multi-frag potential, and it's a lot more chaotic and less like straightforward and linear. Especially in the newest version with that broken bridge ramp taking away basically all the risk of, as an allied player, dropping into water. Now it's not like I dropped into water, broken bridge is wide open. You can drop into water, try your hand at pushing up the steps, and then run back up the ramp, So yeah, I like Saints a lot for playoff maps in particular. I would not have expected that pick, I don't think. I guess let's look at what Rifle Nades did on Saints. They lost to Uncle Rico's Time Machine, actually, on it. 4-point game. That was one we didn't get to cast again, because I never get to cast Uncle Rico's Time Machine games, but interesting. They also just played Railroad 2 against Nogo, though, and lost by a lot more, so maybe that was the logic when it came down to those two maps. Lineup-wise, the Wickeds, it's always hard to know for sure what you got going on here. Jiraiya's usually there, Bullet's usually there, Ryan has been there most of the time, Leto's usually there, and then between Zaps, Luco, and Barinya, Barinya's been there basically nonstop in the second half of the season. Zaps hasn't been around as much. Luco's mostly been there. Again, with the lineup for them, it's always kind of 50-50 who's going to show up. On the Rifle Nade side, Arachnid, Azilla, Firo, Chrono, those guys for sure. Pipes has been playing recently and been looking very good, so I imagine he'll probably be in there still. And then the last spot has been kind of a toss-up between Boom, Celts, Henry, and Steve. We'll see what happens with that. Let me see what happened on Thunder here. Where is it? So Thunder for Deninja, that was actually the one win for the Wickeds as well. So that bodes well for them. Thunder for Rifle Nades was a loss to Rodeo. So that really extra makes sense. It made sense just, from a baseline on paper, even without knowing those results. I'm sure Rifle Nades will, go to the drawing board on what it is that they can do better, what it is they need to be ready for. They're all very aware of what Bill brings to the table on this map. I don't see a lot of ways that the Wickeds is likely to win on Lennon. Hey, if you have a couple guys go off, anything is possible. It's just Rifle Nades has no holes on that map, in my opinion. Whether it's long with Arachnid, the heavy team with Chrono, or the well team with Azilla. Like, there's just a really fucking good player everywhere on that map. It's going to be a lot harder to break through that. On Thunder, you have the numbers game. It's going to be a trade fest in mid. You can use Bunker to your advantage, which Bullet will know how to do better than anyone. I'd say, I'm 95% sure Rifle Nades win on Lennon. I'd say, 55% on Rifle Nade's side for Thunder. I think the Wickeds could absolutely pull that map out. I just think Rifle Nades is one of the best teams in Bronze and could very easily end up in the finals here. And then if it went to a third map, I mean, you have to pick Rifle Nades if it ends up a third map there with Arachnid and Azilla on the bridge side, Chrono just running all over the place, being a madman with the heavies. So I think you definitely say Rifle Nades to win this series overall, regardless of how many games it goes, but I can absolutely see the Wickeds taking map 2 off of them here and making it an interesting series. Next up, so we don't have the pick bans for Revive versus Clan X. Let's speculate. Silver schedule. So Revived, here's the thing. They have it's not exactly the same team. Railyard's not in the mix. That's what they played each other on earlier in the season, so you don't have to worry about that right off the bat. Armory, they lost to Volvo. They didn't play each other again. Clan X, what are they going to want to get out of there? Maybe Railroad 2, maybe Anzio. So if you're Clan X, do you ban Anzio? And then if you're Revived, maybe you ban out either Thunder, Armory, or Saints. Then if you're Clan X, what do you pick? Do you pick Harrington? Maybe you pick Harrington there. Or Lennon, I would think. Revived, I think, would be very willing to pick the other one at that point, to be honest, too. Clan X, I don't know, do they feel that good on Armory if Armory's left there? Maybe they ban Armory after that point. Revive, maybe ban out Thunder at that point. Or whatever the other map is that's left over out of those three, Saints or Thunder. Whichever one. And then it comes down to Railroad and Anzio. Right? Or Railroad and whichever one is left over out of that initial ban wave. So I could see, hypothetically, this being like Lennon, Harrington, Anzio. Maybe some kind of mix in there. Something unforeseen. I mean, again, it's just like I really don't... I can't say for sure in this case because we don't have the pick ban. I keep checking to see if maybe it's going to pop up there. Revived, it's going to be MP Super, SQ, Fincher, MP Super, SQ, Fincher, Manga, Anna. Yeah, okay, for a second I was doubting myself on what I was saying there. For Clan X, the main God Squad, Nitrox, Rafinha, Bud, Matt, Bitchex, and Storm. This is a very close series. Even though on paper it's 2 versus 7 or whatever. Revived had some issues at the start of the season that they have ameliorated at this point for sure. So if you're Clan X, you cannot take this lightly and look at it like, well, we're the high seed here by quite a few spots. Because Revived is a scary fucking team. Scary team. Trust me, we've scrimmed them many times this season. Pretty much out of however many scrims we've played, we probably played them like in 80% of them. Because usually we only have enough people on to play in the afternoon. So we're playing against Euro pugs and teams. I mean, we don't know the maps in actuality, which is unfortunate. So I can't really try to break it down necessarily. I mean, I think Clan X is a absolutely absurd team. That team is so stacked. I think they could hold their own in a lot of gold games when they have their best 6. Revived is very capable of doing that themselves. I mean, the heavy team of Fincher and Super is nuts. We've seen Anna and SQ as a premier rifle team all season long. MP, obviously, most likely on the sniper there, which is his main class. He can do it all, but he definitely prefers to snipe. this is one of those things where if either team is missing somebody, that one person missing could be enough to kick it back in the other direction. I can't obviously speak to what map is going to be won by who. If I just had to give it an overall thought, I would say like 55-45 in favor of Clan X overall, regardless of the maps. And then with knowing the maps and the lineups would help break it down, more in one direction, more in the other direction. Clan X has just been so strong this season. Revive finished the season very strong in the back half of it. They are more than capable. They could win this series 2-0 very easily. I just think, Clan X have been here so many times before as a team. How many seasons? We had 8. They've been in this situation 7 other times. So they've got the experience playing together many times before this. Revived has done it once together before. That's helpful. They had a very crazy series to finish out last season against No-Go that they almost won. So they definitely can take the lessons from that forward in this, but Clan X has a lot more lessons to learn from. You got to go with them here, but I think that is one of the closest series we've got here in the first round of the playoffs. Next up, Price is Right versus Volvo. I don't know why I'm talking with some Scottish sounding accent. So Price is Right, ban Anzio to start it off. Ban of Railroad 2 for Volvo. I would imagine that's more trying to remove a strength for Price is Right than it is like because Volvo doesn't want to play it. They did just win their Railroad 2 match against Clan X. Price is Right picks Harrington. That's no surprise at all. I maybe would have rather, if I was Volvo, ban Harrington, but maybe Volvo, they're just more willing to play Harrington than they are Railroad 2. Maybe not wanting to give Caleb the train car route, obviously one of his specialties, getting that map out of there. But Harrington, you got Leo, you got Corey, you got Soya, you got Riv. Like, there's a lot of shit to deal with on that team. Ooh. Next up, and this makes sense, a Volvo Saints pick. Now, I would figure that they would either pick Saints or Armory there, right? And then I would have figured that Price is Right would ban the opposite, but Price is Right are taking it to the house there. They're saying, oh wait, no, they banned Thunder. Never mind. I forgot. Volvo got the next ban. They banned Thunder, but Price is Right had the chance there to ban the opposite between Saints and Armory, whichever one was left over. And they're going for it, man. They're saying, fuck it. We know that these are the maps that you want to play. We're going to play you on both of them. If you can beat us in the first one, we're going to play you on the other one for the third game. I love it. That will be a fun third map if we can get there. Price is Right is also very strong on Armory. Volvo, it's kind of their signature, these big bridge maps. Volvo is like the team version of Darren. Darren loves these big centralized bridge maps as a sniper. Volvo as a team is like that. If you turned a whole team into one guy, Volvo would turn into Darren in that regard because they are very good at these centralized bridge maps. They won both Saints and Armory, so that's a very fun looking best of 3 to me. Price is Right. All right, so lineup wise, you basically know what you're getting for both. Scotty, Yanni, Manor, Toki, King, Yawua on the Volvo side, and then Price is Right. Odds are it's more than likely resembling like Tony, Caleb, Corey, Kellen, Leo, Soya, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe Pibian in there, I'm not sure. That's the one question mark I really have is like between Pibian and Soya. Are both of them playing? Is one of them missing? They're both snipers mainly. Soya, we've seen play some other classes this season, obviously. Looking at the schedule for Price is Right, they played against Volvo on Harrington. That was a close game. Okay, so they did. I forgot that they played each other on Harrington there. 21-point win. That was very close. Price is Right lost on Saints, and they lost on Armory. So they lost to Clinic on Armory by 107. They lost by more to Clan X on Saints, but there was, they were missing guys. That wasn't like exactly Price is Right. Interesting. And then the Volvo side of things, we know obviously the Harrington game, they won on Saints, they won on Armory against Revived. The fact that I wouldn't have just, obviously I casted that game and I forgot about it. But if you had asked me before I realized that, I wouldn't have guessed that they had played each other on it. It was really, really close just because Price is Right is very strong on Harrington. Like, as a team and their individual players are all like standout Harrington guys. I forget what happened in that. It was obviously dramatic and came down to the wire. Was that the game that Corey had his breakthrough where he said he was in a slump and then he busted it? I think it was. Well, for the sake of drama, I'm going to say that the teams win their map pick and it goes to Armory. So Price is Right wins on Harrington by 58. Volvo comes out on Saints and they win by a cap out, 37 points. We go to Armory. Armory goes to overtime due to a ninja cap by Toki in the last 28 seconds of the game. It goes to overtime. Price is Right wins in overtime. I'm sorry. That's my prediction. That's my very bold prediction. If I had to just break it down to the bare bones, let's say Price is Right 2-1. I'd say is like 72% chance. Price is Right overall, I'd say, like 70% chance. I don't know how I'm breaking these numbers down, but I think this is a really, really fun series. I like the mix and match between these two teams and their styles. They both kind of bring slightly different things to the table while also having some intangibles that are strengths for both of them. Players who understand how to work around the map for ninja caps, which is always a factor in the playoffs, especially, you got to expect teams are going to be more willing to do stuff like that. So yeah, this is a fun series right here. Hopefully, I assume that one will definitely get recorded, and we'll get to cast that game, whether it's on delay or live. What's next? Best Buds versus a Clinic. So, of course, Best Buds, they come out, they ban Harrington. I thought for sure they would troll Sam in this position and not do that, but they take Harrington out. Not surprised to see Clinic ban Saints at all. I don't think they like the map. Lennon pick for Best Buds is interesting. They beat GVMH on it. Clinic lost on Clinic, or did they lose on Lennon? Or did they win on Lennon? I think they won on Lennon, actually. Yes. Oh, they won by a lot on Lennon. Okay, so strength versus strength there. Anzio pick, of course, it's Clinic, it's Sam. It's a team map. The Clinic is a team. Wait a second, what? Did they do that wrong? Yeah, it looks like they did that wrong. Did they actually do it wrong, or is it just listed wrong? So it was ban, pick, and then it went back over to a ban. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter in the end there. Like, if Clinic was going to ban Armory here, then Best Buds would have been able to ban Railroad too anyways. It doesn't really matter in the end. Yeah. Regardless, it ends up on Thunder. A good map for Clinic. I don't know as much about Best Buds when it comes to playing on Thunder. I would definitely just, if I had to pick between the two of them who is more strong on Thunder, I would say Clinic. Clinic historically been a pretty strong team on Thunder. They both lost Thunder this season in pretty close games. Almost the same exact amount, actually. 22 and 24. So, that's interesting. Right off the bat, well, first of all, lineup-wise, for Best Buds, Hopper, Warwithin, Bromley, Nicholson eats ass, Piffy, and Bobby. For Clinic, pick 6 guys out of this list of 10 and just don't include Carpenter. Because odds are, well, we know he's not playing. So probably Tom, Sam, Vic, Debo, Scott, and maybe Insam. If not Insam, then probably Allen or Walter. So, Lennon, we saw both teams won on Lennon. What about Anzio? Anzio was a win for Best Buds and a bye for Clinic. Best Buds winning against Volvo by about 200, and then Thunder, we know they both lost. So, I feel like if Best Buds is picking Lennon, it's for a good reason. You know, they feel like they've got something in their back pocket in that game. They're willing to go tit for tat on a frag-happy map with Clinic there. You know, obviously Heavy's important on this one. I guess it's been Scott and Vic most of the time. You could see Allen. Debo's been rifling this season, so I'm assuming he wouldn't Heavy on that map, but it is Lennon. That might be a good time to tell him, hey, fucking just take the Heavy and go run around and do some shit. Up against Hopper and Piff. That's a good Heavy battle in Apartments. I don't know who I favor there. That's a lot of guys who are good at Heavying on Lennon. Over in Well, Insom and I guess maybe Debo. There's no telling what the fucking lineup is going to be for Clinic class-wise and everything. It's pure speculation, anything I'm saying right now. For Best Buds, it is Bromley and Bobby. Hey, I can tell you, Bobby dropped 40 on us at the LAN on this map. Very strong. Adam, obviously, very strong as well. The Clinic guys in Well are always a pain in the ass to play against. The long battle, Tom and Sam, most likely. Again, depending on, it could be Tom and Walter. It could be Tom and anyone. It could be me and Tom. Up against War Within and Nicholson Eats Ass. Big Bird's also kind of a pain in the ass on this map, speaking from the LAN. Here's the thing. I feel like Best Buds need to win Lennon. Clinic, hey, we lost to Clinic on Anzio. I can tell you Clinic is really fucking tough to play against on Anzio. Again, lineup, always a question. And I feel like this has got to go 3 maps. So I'm going to say that Best Buds win a close one on Lennon. Clinic win by more on Anzio. And then it goes to Thunder. And, man, that's a tough one. Clinic has historically been good on Thunder, but they lost to Clan X this season. I usually think of Clinic as being one of the stronger Thunder teams, but I don't know what the lineup was and everything in that game. It could have been a weird one. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to pick Best Buds to win in 3 by 7 points. I'm not going to say anything else. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Best Buds by 3 points. That's it. That's it. I don't have anything else to say. There's nothing else to talk about. What else would I talk about? What else would I talk about? I don't talk about what else is there to say? And then last up in the Silver Division, Band of Morons versus GVMH. This is an explosive one right here. Like I said, GVMH could actually very easily be in the reverse here and be the one in the 1 seed. They've been the unluckiest motherfuckers this season. They realistically only convincingly lost 1 game. You could argue that they did enough to win every single other game that they lost. Starting off the pick Band of Morons gets rid of Harrington. GVMH beat them on Harrington there. They were missing some guys. They had a ringer, stuff like that, but GVMH did win. Armory Band by GVMH, smart. Get one of the bridge maps the fuck out of there. You know you're going to have to play the other one because there's no way Band of Morons and Darren aren't picking it. Going with Saints to be that map that they get to play. They probably feel just more comfortable on it in general, and that is indeed what Band of Morons pick. GVMH goes Anzio. Again, that makes sense with the makeup of the team. You can rely on Pijitsku in the middle area, whoever the other heavy is as well. And then you have No Name, Raleigh, and Hooley spread throughout the rest of the map. Hooley was usually sniping double windows when they played Anzio this season, which was really fun for me, a double window sniper from the past to watch. It's a lost art form. Because now that everyone is so good with nades, it's really difficult to justify not having those 2 nades in double windows. That usually is worth more than anything else. So seeing Hooley go do that was really fun. But No Name is going to be all over the goddamn map, just killing everything as well. I like that matchup on Anzio a lot for GVMH. Right off the bat, I'm looking at this and seeing 1-1. GVMH, Bannon Railroad 2 makes sense. And then at that point, if you're Bandamorans, you got to get rid of Lennon. You can't give No Name Lennon. That is his signature map. He is the one guy who goes long on Lennon, cars it, and gets 80 kills every time. So that makes a lot of sense. It goes to Thunder. And at that point, it's a little bit more murky on what I think is going to happen. So for Bandamorons, more than likely, Cody, Darren, Baron, Drew, James, and Miles. For GVMH, Raleigh, No Name, and Hooli, Pijisku, Sango, and then Nakaraki. They split the number of games they played this season. They both had 4. So unclear. Maybe each of them gets one map, and then the third map, they figure it out on the fly. Here's the thing, too, right? I'm saying Bandamorons, they win map 1. With GVMH, there's always the possibility that their big 3 just frag you into oblivion. If all 3 of those guys put up like 75 plus kills, they don't need a lot from the other 3. They just need those guys to play positionally sound DOD, to be good in support, to be throwing good nades, not be caught out of position, not die at inopportune times when the other 3 are dead. Like, it's really kind of like the peak of how, like, it's kind of the extreme of the way a DOD team can be made together, right? Where you have like 3 really insane fraggers and 3 support players to play with them. Because there's only so many kills to go around, and I talk about this a lot. And in a game like CS, I think it's more well understood and accepted that you can't just have like a whole team of crazy frag-hungry star players running around, dying all over the place and trying to get 40 kills a half. It just doesn't work. There's only so many kills to get. There's not that many kills to get. Generally speaking, I mean, historically on Thunder, depending on what our lineups have been, it's usually 3 guys that when I look at it, it's like those are the main 3 guys who need to be getting the space, right? And the other 3 guys are the ones who need to create and hold the space for them. So it's kind of like by default, the team is constructed well in that regard. A lot of other teams don't have it as concrete. A team like Bandamorons, they have 6 guys who are very capable of going off and putting 80 kills up on the board week in and week out. And for them, it kind of depends on who's performing on that given map. And then the other 3 guys are able to fill in as needed, do their roles. Like one week, it might be Baron's putting up 80 kills and James is a little bit more of a support player. The next week, James is putting up 80 kills. Baron is a little bit more of a support player. It's an interesting dynamic in the team meta of DoD that I think maybe is a little bit not as well understood as everything else. It's something that I had to learn to play around as the years went on, as Thunder, like the original Thunder lineup where it was me and Ryan and Tox that were the big 3 fraggers, right? And then as time goes on, we pick up Brian. So then I had to kind of take a little bit more of a back seat. And then even, picking up Jules after that point, now it's like even more. You got to be able to, you have to be able to play multiple roles. You can't just be an all North and South player, because eventually you're going to be on a team where it's just not your role anymore. It took me a while to understand that over the years. And, really, I would say I didn't understand it particularly well until the KTP era. I think that made me a better player, being able to do both. You can see the difference between whatever class I'm playing, what team I'm on, who I have around me, on how my play style ends up translated in the game. If you've watched me play like in drafts in the past where like I'm a first round pick and, I need to be the guy doing the heavy lifting, you're going to see me play a lot more like the 2000s and 2010s Jagon, who is being a psycho and going for movie clips all over the place and trying to be the guy pushing. And then when you're seeing me sniping and playing on Thunder with Tox, Ryan, Jules, Dorito, like you're going to see me being a lot more, the guy trying to stay alive, the guy trying not to lose the map control the other guys get, the guy who is really sacrificing so that the rest of them can be the ones to go out and do the heavy lifting to win the game. And it's important. It's something that every player needs to understand week in and week out and be in tune with themselves and how they're feeling. Is it an A game week? Is it a D game week? You have to make sure that your floor is as high as you can get it for those weeks when it's not an A game, and you have to still have a way to contribute to the team. And I think GVMH has really exemplified that just from the way that they're constructed, and Band of Morons has exemplified that in the way that all 6 of their players have been able to, maneuver in and out each of those roles depending on who's the hot hand that week, who they have in the lineup, what map it is. It's a very interesting dynamic. I think this goes 3 maps, and I think Band of Morons win in a very tight one on Thunder. I still, from the start of the season, have said that I think Band of Morons is the favorite in silver. I'm not going to back out on that now, but with a team like GVMH, man, sometimes that individual performances of those big 3 stud players can be enough to just overpower. It can overpower. They could win this series 2-0 just if those 3 guys play so out of their goddamn minds, which they're more than capable of. I don't think that's going to happen. Band of Morons are all very strong and very well experienced players. They have good heads on their shoulders in game. They've all been here before. I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed if things start to go wrong. They might yell. I would too. But I think that they will be able to keep their wits about them and do what they need to do to be able to turn it back around and get into the win column when all is said and done. But I do think we get 3 maps out of this one, which it's funny because it's the 1 versus 8. But as I said, the reality of it is that GVMH could just as easily be that 1 seed. They could have ended up with actually a better record overall and been, 8-1 with that only real convincing loss being this one. So that one, when's that game getting played? It must be afternoon, yeah. Ooh, man, I got a tough choice to make there. That's a tough choice. Damn, that sucks. It doesn't say the time. I mean, you got to figure ICF versus Over is an afternoon game, right? I guess it depends what time it starts. We'll see what happens with that one. I'll have to message everyone individually and give them a heads up on if they definitely should record or if I'm likely to cast it. So, that's silver. Where are we at now? Okay, it's not too bad. Next up is gold. Dice versus Soul. Now, I was told this information. Nobody told me not to tell it. I did reveal it yesterday during the cast I was doing. Well, I didn't reveal it. I just kind of gave a hint, and then Kevin filled in the blanks. Soul going to be busting out a little different lineup for the playoffs. Luke is back. Dillard making his return. The mercenary back in action here for Soul. And in the process, the class swap will be PB on the sniper, which we saw 1 week this season. It was on Solitude. PB top fragged in all of gold, and Soul was able to beat Dice by, I think, 3 points. So Cam is on the third. Jackson and Dillard on the cars, the Stampers on the heavies, and PB on the sniper. Up against for Dice, the standard lineup, Kaboom and Paul on the heavies, Matt on a car, Alex on a car, Johnny on a Stas, Kevin on a sniper. Pick band-wise, Dice bans Lennon. Makes sense, although I think probably part of that was both them not liking the map and not wanting to give PB a chance to run around and frag out, but now he's sniping, so it's maybe a little bit different. Railroad 2 ban for Soul. That makes a lot of sense. Dice is a really good Railroad 2 team. Dice picks Saints. They look great on Saints every time they play it. I had to play them in the playoffs on it one season. We barely won. It was a very stressful game. Obviously with the mechanical beast that they have, Kevin on the sniper. Dielife's always been a good player on this map. It's a map that's very favorable for Alex. Those long range battles. Doesn't matter if it's against a sniper. He's going to probably win that fight 9 times out of 10. And then a Harrington pick for Soul. They played us on Harrington. They almost beat us. They look great on it. A ban of Armory after that. They want to take, the big long bridge map out of the equation here. There's already one. They don't want to do another one. Dice have the choice between Thunder and Anzio, and they go with Anzio, which makes sense. Just about in every way, in my opinion. So Anzio as the decider. I don't know what to think about this one, mainly because of the lineup changes on the Soul side. How quickly will Luke get back into the swing of things? Is he scrimming at all leading into this, 12-manning at all, or is he just stepping right into the server? I think even if he's just stepping into the server, it won't take too long for him to get ready to go. It's still, there will be a little bit of time where it's like if you haven't played DoD at all and you're just stepping into a playoff game against Dice and on Saints, right? It's not like he's getting to step in on Harrington where it's really familiar. It's Saints. So that's definitely going to be an interesting storyline. I mean, Justin on the sniper is just going to be such a pain in the ass to deal with because he's going to hit crazy shots and make them look easy. As I always talk about, the easiest gun to get kills with is sniping, right? A player with good aim. That's all it really takes. The class itself and playing the class properly may be the hardest because there's a lot of responsibilities on the sniper that I think a non-sniper doesn't really think about. Justin understands that though, right? Even though he's not a sniper, he is very, very smart when it comes to all things DoD. I think Dice should take Saints for sure. Harrington, I mean, with the way that Soul looked against us, now here's the thing too, it's a little different because in that game, PB was one of the biggest reasons that they were up our ass. Like he was just running all over the map, getting a bunch of kills at a time, really tough to deal with. He could still do that as a sniper. It's just going to be maybe a little bit, there's going to be fewer openings for that to happen when you're kind of like anchored in middle with the sniper. The responsibility is on you when you get in mid to be able to sit there and make sure that they don't just take it right back. So he doesn't get as much space to work with unless they talk about that beforehand and somebody else is going to be prepared to slide into that gap if Justin wants to take a push. I mean, I'm inclined to say Dice 2-0 and that Harrington is a really close game. Dice on Harrington is going to be rough. Just because you have to deal with Kevin in mid, you have to deal with Alex, you have to deal with Matt, you have to deal with Chris, you have to deal with Paul, and then Johnny anchoring long. He can run right at you, or he can disappear into the fucking bushes, and you don't know where he is, and then he pops up and shoots you right in the balls. They're a good Harrington team. Soul, as I can personally attest to, also a good Harrington team. I think that map has very high odds of being a dramatic, close one and could go either way. I just feel like, there's a lot of question marks around how things work out. Now, Soul, I think, is the kind of team that will be more than willing, if it's not working, to just figure something out and swap right away. Which I think the most sensible thing would be at that point. Well, either, if it's not working, you can have Jared get on the sniper and Justin go onto a heavy because he's just as good of a heavy as he is as a rifle. Or you can have Justin get onto one of the other rifles, whether it's the third or one of the other two guys hops on the third and Cam goes on the sniper. There are options. They don't have to just like grind it out if it feels like it's not working. But yeah, I think I say very confidently for Saints, Dice should win that one. They're a really good Saints team, and all their players individually are very good at it. Harrington, I'd say like 55-60% in favor of Dice. And then if it goes to Anzio, that's where it gets most interesting. That, I think, is the closest map there, because the individual players of Soul are all really good at Anzio. Craig is such a good double windows player. We've seen what the Stampers bring to the table, understanding how they have to play in the street area as the heavies. And then if you got Justin on a sniper rifle, like good luck getting out on a bridge on your allied side, because Justin's going to be there scoped in Meat Locker at Tiki, etc. It definitely gets a lot more interesting. Like that's, I think, the biggest toss-up of the three games. I just feel like it's most likely that it doesn't get that far. But if Luke comes back like in fucking peak form right now, that's where things start to get more and more 50-50 across the board. If Luke comes out strong, Soul has a good game plan, everybody's on their shit, that's where I think things become more of a coin flip. But, Dice has been in these high-pressure games plenty of times, best of threes plenty of times. They just did it at the LAN against the best teams in the world. And, I think they will be amply prepared for an extended series in this case. Last up, Icy-Hot versus Over, and I talk about it all the time. Playing against Over in a best of three is a nightmare. Right off the bat, Icy-Hot banning Lennon makes sense. I don't think Icy-Hot loved Lennon to begin with, but Over do. So That's very sensible, I think, for Icy Hot to just get rid of that. Lineup wise, though, before that, Icy Hot, I don't know if I'm supposed to say what the lineup looks like, but I think we're going to see the return of Bees this week. So very, very interesting stuff. Mitch has not played this season, but he is a guy that, he doesn't really need to be playing. It'll take him like 30 seconds of being in the server in pregame shooting at stuff, and it'll be there. So the over side of things is a very big toss-up. They've used ringers a bunch this season. Is Nightmare going to be there? That's a big point that you have to think about. SC and Caffrey usually there. Devin usually there. Is Sokka going to be there? It's another big question. Are they going to rep that lineup of Nightmare, Sokka, Kum, Devin, SC, Caffrey? Because that makes things very interesting if they do. But yeah, so Icy Hot bans Lennon. Over does not like Railroad 2, historically speaking. So they get rid of it. I don't think Icy Hot likes Railroad 2 that much either, though, so I don't think they're too muffed about that. Anzio pick, that's a good one for both teams. Icy Hot, I think, gets the edge there. But Over, this is one of those big three maps that they really, really like to play. They pick Saints. I think that's the one win they got this season. Against Soul, obviously. I think they want to be able to play their hand of, the Nightmare sniper situation where he can try to lock Bridge down. I think that makes sense there. But here's the thing. Icy Hot's a really fucking good Saints team as well. They were kind of the guys who started the meta on the previous version with, like, everybody going Broken Bridge. They've clearly got a good understanding of it this time. Thing is, they lost to Dice, so I think that might be a factor as well in why Over picks this. But that was more a testament to how good Dice was in that game than it was necessarily that Icy Hot's not good on Saints. I just know some of the guys just particularly don't like Saints on the Icy side, even though they are very good at it. Over bans Thunder because it's bad. Yeah, I don't know if whose comment that was. Was it Jesse's? Was it Over's? It could have been either. It could have been both. And then a surprising one here, but I think this one is more just because what the other map was that was left. But Icy Hot, one of the best Armory teams, but they had Armory or Harrington. Now, they just beat G-Skull on Harrington, which is the most impressive win you can have, well, on any map, but especially on Harrington. So, in this case, they pick Harrington. However, that's kind of good for Over as well. If they were going to have a choice here, I'm pretty sure that this would be just about the way that this series would go. The only difference would be, I think, that they would have Lennon instead of Saints. Like, if Icy Hot had banned Saints first, then I'm pretty sure this series would have been Anzio, Lennon, Harrington. First of all, you got to favor Icy Hot, right? But Over never just rolls over in these best of three series. I'm pretty sure this is going to go 3 maps, and I'm pretty sure Over is going to make Icy Hot sweat on Harrington for a bit. I think Icy Hot will still pull it out, but like, if anyone's going to match up to the way that Icy Hot plays Harrington, I think Over's very capable of it because it's just raw fucking chaos across the board. Over lives for that shit, and that, I think, is helpful for them. I think very, very likely, you get a 2-0 from Icy Hot here in 2 close games. I think a lot of it's going to come down to who wins on Anzio. That'll tell you everything about the way the rest of the series goes. I think whoever wins map 1 wins this series. I think Icy Hot should win map 1. But again, it's a map that Over feel very confident playing on. They have individual players that can take over games on that map. You gotta contend with Nightmare. On Bridge, that's a nightmare, pun intended. And then on Plaza, same fucking thing. Like I say, I go with Icy Hot here, but I think this goes the distance. Because Over always goes the distance in best of threes. This is the time of season where Over comes out swinging the hardest and looks their best, and I don't think this will be any different. This is a tough draw for whoever had to draw Over in the first round. It was very unlucky because best of threes tend to end up with maps that they're good at. You don't see a lot of best of threes be like Thunder, Saints, Railroad 2 or whatever. Like, you're going to get some Anzio, some Harrington, some Lennon more often than not. and those are the 3 maps that they are best at. In this case, they got 2 out of the 3. I think Lennon is their best map. They didn't get that, but if they can push it to a 3rd map, anything is possible. If this thing goes 3, anything can happen in that 3rd map. So, again, no, you go with Icy out here. You don't have a team beat G-Skill twice in this season, and then you say, well, they're going to probably lose in the first round. No fucking way. You got to have them favored to be in the finals. They will be in the finals. It's just there is definitely a world here where Over does manage to pull this off, and there even could be a world where they manage to do in 2. It's not out of the question. I just don't think it's super likely. But I think that the way the map veto went is not too shabby for Over. I think they can feel pretty okay about the way that the veto went overall. They just they got to have their best 6. They got to be sharp because Icy Out will be, and they definitely got to make sure that they push this thing to 3. If it goes 2, I think you're pretty much guaranteed that Icy Out has won the series. But if it goes to that Harrington 3rd game, everything is on the table and anything is possible. I assume they will be playing in the afternoon, and then, odds are that's the game we're doing. Unless it starts at like 4 or 5, then we'll probably start with the Band of Morons GVMH game, see where that's going, and then pick up with the Icy Out Over game. I have no idea what time. If it's supposed to be on that day, there's no time and day listed here. So yeah, that does it. We're headed into playoffs. Season 8 regular season is done and dusted. The playoffs are always insanity, and they're exceptionally busy for myself, obviously. So be on the lookout, be listening for which games I'm casting, and be ready to record your HLTVs if you want it to get casted when all is said and done. We've showed it on stream a few times how it's done. Caleb also had posted it in the lobby back a month ago or something. Now, if you want to go back and look at, it's really, really easy. I can even show you right now exactly what you do. So you go into your Half-Life folder, you double-click HLTV, you type connect, HLTV IP, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. Then when you get in there, it'll say connecting, blah, 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 blah. And then you type, once it's in there, now sometimes if it's not working, that means the HLTV is bugged and someone's going to need to kick it. But once it does successfully connect, you just say record, Morons versus GVMH playoffs, half 1, whatever. Playoffs, BO3. And then you don't have to stop it. Just let it keep recording, and then after the series is done, give it a few minutes as well, and then type stop, because there's a buffer. So if you stop it as soon as you're done, it'll cut off the end of the demo, which would be unfortunate if the game comes right down to the very end. So just give it a couple seconds, but then at that point, the demos go into your DoD folder. Like, you don't have to go get them from anything. They just go into your DoD folder. But again, just double check, go into the server, type status. If the HLTV doesn't show up in the list, then someone needs to kick it. And if you try to connect to the HLTV through this thing and it gives you errors and shit, odds are the HLTV is glitched and someone needs to kick it. Which you can do in the server, or you can do in HLSW, or you can DM me or any other person who has the Archon or an admin or whatever to get them to kick it. We have no idea why the HLTV's glitch. There's no telling what the cause is for that, but it continues to happen completely at random. It could even happen in the middle of the game. It has before, so it's not even necessarily a guarantee that the demos will definitely come through. We've seen it happen a couple times where they didn't, but, it's worth at least trying, obviously, when all is said and done. So good luck, have fun, everybody, this weekend. Thankfully, we don't have to play a match until 2 weeks from now. So I just have to worry about casting right now. Thank you again so much to War Within for all the hard work he's done with these Frag of the Weeks these last few years. And don't you go too far, War Within, because the DoD community, we keeping you around. Even if you're not playing, making movies, we're keeping you around, dog. You don't get to leave us like that, homie. No fucking way. No fucking way.